Hello and welcome to What is the Backstory. Today we're talking about legendary, great, amazing NBA great Kobe Bryant.
What's the backstory with Carlos Hardy? Yeah.
So we all remember where we were when we received that text message, or we saw that notification that came through our phone, or we saw the news that told us that Kobe Bryant had untimely died in a crash in Los Angeles. I would just like to say I've written a lot of things, and this backstory in particular was the most gut-wrenching, emotional experience I've had with writing in a very long time. His untimely passing was felt by the entire world, the global universe, and people were trying to wrap their heads around it. For me, writing something this close to home of someone who you don't know, but ultimately, spiritually, you know, it was extremely hard. It was draining at times. It took me about a month from beginning to end, just to finish, to want to do this video, but I wanted to because I wanted to pay some type of homage to who Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi was. I wanted to give some type of closure because, like I say, what happened was very abrupt, and it played on a lot of our fears of what death is and what death means. Kobe Bryant won 5 championships. He was an All-American. He was a Defensive Player of the Year. He was scoring champion. He's 18-time All-Star champion. He has done so much in his career over the course of the NBA. And most NBA players will yearn to have just a fourth of the career that Kobe Bryant has had. But I must say, though, the one reason why I actually love Kobe Bryant is because he was probably the most disciplined player in the NBA. I've watched his workouts, I've watched his interviews, I've seen a lot of behind the scene footage of him. So Kobe Bryant will practice before the game, he'll play the game, and then he will practice after the game, after all the players have gone home. I mean, that's a discipline that's unmatched. It's incredible what he was able to accomplish and do in the span that he was in the NBA. But I think for me personally, I'm most connected to who he was as a being because he is so disciplined. It takes so much to push the distraction to the side and discipline yourself enough to win whatever it is you're searching or whatever it is you're reaching out to win. To me, that's just that's astonishing. So in today's backstory, like I mentioned before, I wanted to pay some type of homage to who Kobe Bryant and his daughter was, and I'm hoping that you go along for the ride with me on this small scene, and I really hope you like it. Here is my interpretation of what happens the morning of his death. A combination of soft pastel colors radiate from the walls of a teenage girl's bedroom. The colorful patterns morph into a collage of the little girl's favorite sports teams. The dimly lit room is quiet. The soothing sounds of chimes dangle calmly in an opened windowsill. The soft tinkling isn't enough to wake the little girl that's immersed in sleep. Suddenly, the door creaks open. Kobe Bryant pokes his head inside the room. The childish grin on his face is a clear indication he's up to no good. He speaks in his soft indoor voice. "Rise and shine, Gigi." Gigi, his 13-year-old daughter, turns over, fighting the unpleasant interruption. Disgusted, she buries her head beneath the pillow. "Can you give me 5 minutes, Dad?" Kobe doesn't let up, barging into the room like an unwanted house guest. "Gigi, you've had 8 hours of rest. You have a game today." "I just need 8 hours and 5 minutes, Dad," she pleads with her father. Kobe reaches under the sheets, pulling the reluctant teenager by her ankle, dragging her from her daydream. Her fingers latch onto the sides of the bed, hanging on by a thread. She groans. Her sweet yet whiny tone elevates defiantly, forcing Kobe to shield one of his ears. Girl, if you don't get up. Kobe reaches for a miniature basketball. He playfully tosses it at the sleeping beauty. Gigi, let's go. Kobe takes a second ball, mimicking his glory years with the Lakers, looping the ball between his legs and slamming it into the small hoop attached to the door. You don't know about that, Gigi? Let's go to work on these girls. He mocks her, but finds it pleasurable even in her revolt. Curious, Gigi swings around. Her intense gaze at her father's exhibition and unorthodox basketball ability prompts her to sit upright. She's been coached by her father for years, but something seems different this morning. His athleticism has peaked far beyond her knowing. His moves are light and precise. He floats like a hummingbird, defying gravity with arrogance. Whoa, she softly mutters. The basketball legend rips the ball behind his back, bouncing it from the wall before slamming it into the hoop. Gigi's eyes sparkle in delight. She sits up studying his intricate movements and commit them to a safe place in her memory. Her voice squeaks with excitement. Dad, that was poetry in motion. You know how I do, Gigi. Gigi hops out of bed, snatching the ball from the floor. She mimics her father's move, wrapping the ball in between her legs, then around her back. She pushes past Kobe, her petite teenage frame colliding into his 6'6" muscular physique. You can't guard me, Dad. Playing to her strengths, Kobe restricts his might, allowing her to score. An overwhelming roar unleashes from the pit of her stomach, sending a defining ripple through the room. Kobe ceases in place. Her intentional movements reminds him of himself as a kid. He fends away his feelings and relishes in Gigi's technique. His emotions rage like a burning forest fire, relentless and out of control. The basketball legend turns his back to Gigi, shielding himself from her view. That's how you do it, Gigi, he says, thumping his chest. Soft rays of sunshine spill through a window, saturating Gigi's gleeful smirk. Kobe wanders over to the window nook. A plush seating area awaits him. She sits next to her father. Like a proud dad, Kobe uses his index finger to wipe the sleep from the corner of her eye. Dad, I told you, don't do that. I'm not a baby anymore. His soft gaze into the forest outside her window helps level his nerves. He drifts into an isolating fog, which most certainly provides him a morsel of peace. Gigi sits next to him. Her eyes widen, taking in the expansive slew of mountains in the distance. When you were a baby, I could hold you for hours. Gigi's hands find their way onto Kobe's shoulder. Her eyes settle on the small lines in his forehead. Then she takes in the admiration in his eyes. Dad, you're not going to get mushy, are you? No. I think I have something in my eye. Kobe tries turning away, hoping to mask his overflow of emotion. Dad, you are freaking me out now. Sometimes I think I've pushed you too hard, Gigi. She knowingly squeezes her father's hand, hoping to absorb the guilt in his words. No, Dad, I needed that push. Kobe leans forward. He rests his forehead on hers. He has always relied on her to tell the truth. Are you sure, Gigi? Yeah. If I want to be the best, it's better to be coached by the best. The father-daughter duo embrace. Kobe shifts his shoulders from side to side, seemingly brushing away the emotional turmoil that has plagued him recently. The basketball legend lifts to his feet and walks to the door. Gigi, be ready in 15 minutes. The hyperactive teen explodes to her feet, taking the ball, guiding it into the hoop before slamming it. You see, Dad, if you're always ready, you ain't never gotta get ready. Kobe's eyes rolled at the overzealous teen. He exits the room. Gigi returns to her nook. She sits watching her father practice shooting hoops in the driveway. The hair is on her neck stand. Her eyes is fixed on the fluidity in his pump fake and finger roll to the basket. She roars like a rowdy fan in the stands. Her fist slaps up against the window. That's so dope. An assortment of clouds mushroom into the area, overtaking the exhilarating moment. A sliver of sun finds its way through the clouds and onto Kobe's skin. He swings around knowing that Gigi is always watching, his eyes catching the fullness in hers. The father-daughter shares a delicate moment before the heavens immediately open, unleashing a wall of heavy rain over the head of the Basketball Hall of Famer. If you were like me, that scene just kind of made me a bit emotional. It had me in my feelings for a moment because, like I say, being able to lose someone like that, but also to have lost his daughter in front of the world is undertaking that I don't think I could take. But his wife is very, very strong, so I'm hoping and praying that they do well, and that they are able to grab onto the memories of who their father and her husband was. I think that's really most important, but also understanding that Kobe is still with them in a spiritual sense. So that was my Kobe Bryant. Let's talk about the tip of the day: emotion. Emotion is your superpower as a writer. When you're writing any type of fiction, nonfiction, you have to draw on emotion. It's the one element that grabs your audience and yank them and throws them and pulls them and causes them to be on this roller coaster ride with you. And it makes for a great story when you're able to infuse your stories with the emotions that you may be feeling from a loved one, from a job, from a friend, from your life, your daily life. If you can draw on that emotion and put that into your work, I'm telling you, that is what writing is all about. It's about experiences as well, but when you have the emotional backing, the emotional readiness to put into your work, I'm telling you, it makes your work sound better, it makes your work feel better, but most importantly, it drives your audience to want to turn that page and read more. So don't be afraid of the emotions you may be feeling in your day-to-day life, because those emotions will help to write the autobiography, the nonfiction, the fiction, the script. They'll help you to go from point A all the way to point Z. So don't be afraid of your emotions. Use them. Thank you so much for joining me on The Backstory. I'm hoping I'm giving you some insight on writing, on how to write, but also giving you a colorful story to watch and to be entertained for these couple moments that you're with me. But I appreciate you so much. Remember, subscribe if you haven't. I'm Carlos Hardy, and this is What's the Backstory.
What's the backstory with Carlos Hardy? Yeah, yeah, yeah.